What's the stupidest fight you've ever had with? And so I was wrestling with a girlfriend and she tried to poke me in the ear with her finger. I told her I would have her arrested if she did it, just so she would be in the newspaper police blotter. Later that night she went to bed before me. The neighbors had the cops called on them for something and there were a couple cruisers out front with flashing lights. I stepped outside for a cigarette and to watch the drama. Not much happened, so I went to bed. The next morning my GF told me we were done and I needed to move out. When I asked why, she insisted that I called the police about the whole finger in the butthole incident. I couldn't convince her otherwise. Freaking incredible. My girlfriend yelled at me so I wouldn't miss a parking space. Then I got mad and yelled at her for yelling at me. Then she got mad because I yelled at her. On a road trip my ex sings, "And the hills are alive with the sound of," and then looks to me to continue. I have no idea what she is signing. It's from The Sound of Music. Apparently the hills are alive with the sound of music is what I was supposed to say. Instead I see some cows as we're driving, so that's what I say, the hills are alive with the sound of cows. X flips her crap because somehow she thinks I'm saying she sounds like a cow. Oh come on, that's pretty funny. You didn't know what to say so you're improvised. People really need to chill sometimes and get over their insecurities. My crazy ex-girlfriend and I had an argument because she genuinely thought she was going to win the X Factor, and she couldn't even sing. Susan Boyle is a wonderful singer emo. I drunkenly put a bunch of pillows and blankets in the bed of my truck and wanted to sleep in it with her. She said no. I got pissed at her for not wanting to sleep in my nest. I remember screaming at her, "I made you a freaking nest." It ended up pouring that night, too. My buddies still give me crap for that one. Embarrassing. Truck nest actually sounds fun, minus the yelling drunk guy. When she sent me very angrily and explicitly worded text messages after I was tagged in a photo with a young blonde woman, she lost her crap straight away claiming I was cheating on her. She hates me, etc, etc. Now here comes the funny part. The blonde woman was my niece and we were at my nephew's wedding. Didn't even get an apology. It's a trap. An ex-GF ended up furious at me because my cousin got a present from my mom but she didn't. It was my cousin's birthday, they didn't share a birthday, and she hadn't even met my mom. Bro. Nothing. The fight where you don't even know what you are fighting about. You are just both stressed and angry. There is no way to end it because it isn't about anything. My ex-girlfriend called my parents' house looking for me. My dad told her I went to Wendy's. She got a hold of me, screaming incoherently, then said, "WHO the frick is Wendy?" I went to Wendy's. Fast food, for a burger. We were wrestling in bed one night and she decided it would be a good idea to do a full power kick in the pitch black night. Sure enough, she nailed me between the eyes. I laid back in bed and said that was the freaking stupidest thing you ever done. She ended up crying and leaving the room as I laid there in pain. I fell asleep. She came to check on me to make sure I was alive. She watched an episode 1000 Ways to Die where someone headbutted someone and died from it, so she thought she may have killed me. My wife and I have an ongoing passive-aggressive battle about how the dishwasher should be loaded. How hard is it to nest the cereal bowls on the top rack anyway? I got stabbed by a knife last night. I think I finally won the argument that knives need to be pointed down in the dishwasher. We were laying on the grass, looking up at the stars. She turns to me and asks, "Am I the most beautiful woman in the world?" I say of course. Goes without saying. She then pushes her luck after looking at the sky for a bit and asks, "Am I the most beautiful woman in the universe?" I decided to tease a bit and say, "Well, that is a big universe out there." She cried and cried. It was, in her words, the cruelest thing I'd ever said. And thus we conclude another episode of Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes. A girl I dated at one point was lactose intolerant. She would bite the bullet and still eat things like pizza. After the two of us killed a pizza, she starts feeling sick and says she doesn't understand why. Me. Maybe it's all that pizza you just ate. Her. Are you calling me fat? Me. I'm calling you lactose intolerant. Her. Frick you. You are calling me fat. She didn't talk to me for 3 days after that, and we lived together. You can use that defense for everything. Boss, Well, as you can see, your performance has been subpar this quarter. Me. Are you calling me fat? Boss, no number. No one is calling you fat. Me. Very well. I think this meeting is over. Goodbye. Boss, but, me. I said goodbye. Hardly a fight, but I once dated a girl with the last name of Winter. One day she asked me what my favorite season was and got mad when I didn't say winter. We got into a screaming match about why outdoor beer gardens had suddenly proliferated in NYC in the years after we graduated college. She claimed it was because in the wake of the financial crisis, people sought community and belonging in those sorts of spaces. I claimed it was because developers and entrepreneurs knew such establishments offered a high return on effort and a guaranteed stream of customers. A screaming match. We broke up. I would have paid money to watch you two scream coherent, insightful arguments at each other. I got upset with my ex when she wanted to keep a score sheet of our arguments and fights. I not so kindly explained that nobody would win and everyone would lose doing that. Oh, and she has a master's in psychology and is giving advice to people like this. We don't really fight, but last night we had a mini argument about how many yogurts to buy with a weekly shop. They were 10 for £3 and she only wanted to buy 4 at 70p each. Absolute madness. Thank God British people also fight. Now I don't feel so weird. What goes in the fridge and freezer? My wife is of the school that imagines timers on every item from the supermarket that start ticking as soon as they are in the car. If they don't get into the fridge before the timer goes off, they spoil. If they are in the fridge for longer than 3 days, they spoil. Long hours of wasted time, but she finally agreed on peanut butter. My wife pulls this crap with randomly putting peanut butter in the fridge. Stop destroying my toast. First story. Wife got up in the middle of the night with acid reflux. Upon waking me up she asked me to get her Tums from the medicine cabinet. I opened the cabinet and groggily rooted around but found no Tums. Already grumpy from being woken and thinking I'd have to go to the store, I told her there weren't any. She said there were and we went back and forth, voices escalating each time. Finally she gets out of bed, grabs the bottle of Rolaids and holds them in my face. Out of frustration I do that quiet shout and proclaim that those aren't freaking Tums. Story 2. Wife asked me to get her black straightener out from under the sink. Made me feel like I was choosing which cup was the grail. Should have brought her all the black straighteners. Ex-girlfriend and me got into a fight over which direction the arrow in FedEx points on the truck. I said back, she said front. Turns out it depends on which side of the truck you're looking at. When I was a senior in high school I was dating a 21-year-old. He didn't believe me when I told him that they were called stalactites and stalagmites. He thought it was stalactites and stalagmites. I even told him it was easy to remember because E for ceiling and G for ground. He refused to go search the terms on the computer that was 4 feet from us, but I know Miss Frizzle wouldn't have lied to me. I'll have to remember that C and G thing. I always mix them up. I went to a concert, and on the way home I decided to stop and say hi to the girl I was dating at the time. Here's how the scene unfolded. Hey sweetheart, I just thought I'd stop by and give you a hug. Who did you meet there? My friend Ian? What are you talking about? A girl tagged you in her picture. I was at a prog show, there were no girls. I saw it on Facebook and my friend said you're probably cheating on me. I don't know what you're talking about. Later, this went on longer, but you get the gist. Got home and checked Facebook and I was indeed tagged in a picture, taken from the stage, showing the whole audience, posted by the female bassist of the band. My friend Ian had added the tag. I was at a prog show, there were no girls. I like that this didn't immediately end the argument. Fighting over looking at the McDonald's menu at the drive-thru. She will stare at it for like 5 minutes. I'm like, it's McDonald's. It's the same food they have had for years. You're going to choose the same thing you always have. Why do you have to read the whole menu? An ex-boyfriend got mad at me for ignoring him while I was sleeping. I was asleep and apparently rolled to the other side, facing away from him, and he was offended by that. So offended that he got up and left in the middle of the night. I noticed you said X. Good call. I brought home the wrong milk. I got fortified coconut. She wanted fortified coconut and almond. She thought it was insulting and embarrassing to return an item to a grocery store and I said so I'll just do it. She told me to quit raising my voice. She was yelling and to go take a break. Which is ridiculous. This caused an apple to be thrown at my head. Giant fight ensued which started with oops got wrong milk. I sense an underlying issue here. So and I had a huge fight over whether eating 2 bananas constituted breakfast. His logic was 2 bananas was not breakfast but eating fruit salad would be okay for breakfast. My logic was that I'll eat whatever I want for breakfast. My ex once got mad at me because I wouldn't go to a concert with him and his mother. I was at my only sibling's bridal shower and maid of honor to be in her wedding. But I guess that wasn't good enough of a reason. Senior week we're at the beach holding hands. I walk a little quicker than her so I can see past her to talk to my friend. She didn't talk to me the entire dinner. We get back to the hotel room. She said it was a metaphor for our relationship because I always leave her behind and stormed out into the night, something she used to do frequently at restaurants over the stupidest things. She sounds like an English teacher. Repeat storyteller here, but it's just so good. I can't help myself from sharing the things the most stupid man on the planet said to me before we got divorced. Before smartphones while driving for 4 hours, my then husband argued with me that the moon was bigger than the earth. Like spitting fire, abusively name calling, hitting the steering wheel mad every time I laughed at his argument. For 4 hours. The instant we got home, he went on the internet to prove me wrong. Then suddenly, without a word, he was gone. He went to bed and never spoke of it again. He probably went to the huge moon and laughed at your tiny earth. Who put the dirty plate back in the cupboard? I sure as crap know it wasn't me. I'm the one that pointed it out for Christ's sake. And he swears it wasn't him. And only the two of us lived there at the time. And I'm not talking dishwasher just didn't get everything off dirty. I'm talking greasy, melted cheese from barbecue hamburgers dirty. That was probably 10 years ago, and we still argue about it. Jokingly mostly now. But I freaking know it was him. Why would he keep up this charade for so long? Just tell me the truth. Had a fight with an ex back in the day. He was angry because I was agreeing with him wrong. His words, not mine. This is also the same ex who once yelled at me for roughly an hour and a half because I hadn't changed the subject a few minutes before. The irony was lost on him that day. Yet, I'm kind of glad we aren't together anymore. My mom once said the same thing to me in an argument. That she wanted me to agree with her because I felt that way, not because she wanted me to feel that way. Can't dump her, though. Had an ex who took his job at CVS way too seriously and got super mad at me when I came to his store to surprise him and then ended up not signing up for a rewards card when I checked out. I tried multiple times to explain that I just wasn't thinking at the time and he pulled the line of "you're against my company, you're against me," even though I had nothing against CVS. I just didn't want to deal with signing up for a card at that point in time. He ended up breaking up with me 2 days later. Good riddance. That's a real go-getter with middle management written all over him. For a while, every time my fiance farted on me I would retaliate by licking his face because he hates it. So we get drunk one night. He farts on me. I go to town all over this dude's face. Like chin to hairline licking. He gets furious. So we're drunk as frick. Standing on opposite sides of the kitchen. Screaming at each other, "I'll stop farting when you stop licking me, I'll stop licking you when you stop farting." He storms out of the kitchen, and I start feeling remorseful. So I decide to make him a treat. So I microwave some spaghetti and meatballs from a can. Take the bowl out of the microwave and it's hot as frick, so I drop it. Bowl shatters. Spaghetti everywhere. Boyfriend walks into me sitting in a pile of noodles, weeping. He's like, "What the heck?" I was like, "I was sob trying to make you sob, sexual spaghetti." I'm guessing the utter absurdity was too much for him. He laughed while I cried, and we were suddenly made up. My ex used to tease me incessantly, and while it's sometimes cute and goes both ways, it was getting to be a little much. I asked him to tone it down a bit. His response? "What? You can't change me. This is who I am. This is how I was raised. You know what you're asking me, right? You're asking me to be someone I'm not." I don't know if I can do that. Really? You could just be nice. It didn't last. And he got married to someone else 6 months later in his living room. Last night, I was working on a project on autism for my human development class. So I'm busy typing away and notice that one of the qualities or symptoms matches something that my son does quite often. I think this is funny, so I pointed out to him. Not a great idea. The conversation basically spiraled to both of us reading through the symptoms and accusing each other of autism. Not a great time. That was a pretty autistic fight, I must say. I've done the same. We had recently gotten over a real fight, and the make-up sex was great. So she started fights over the dumbest crap, in the hopes it would lead to more great sex. It didn't. I mean, if you do it often enough, she may start associating the two. Then every time you pee her off, she'll get aroused. Didn't happen to me, but to one of my friends. He dated this girl who we all knew was crazy. One day he went over to her house and she was cooking but still needed a few items to finish her dish. It was spaghetti and meatballs. So he volunteered to run to the store and grab some pasta or whatnot. When he returned, she looked at the pasta jar and said it was the wrong one. She got furious and kicked him out of her house for getting the wrong one. They broke up a few weeks later. I've lost count. I want to lose weight. Tell me how to do it. Oh, it's easy. I've lost 50 pounds with eating less and doing more exercise. But that's so hard. It often comes down to genetics. That is why I lose weight slowly. Very minimal. Just make up a diet on MyFitnessPal and stick to it. You'll be skinny in 3 months. No, I'll do those expensive infrared cabins that burn off 1000 calories in 30 minutes. That doesn't work. Those are machines that do very little to nothing for weight loss. They work. Why do you never believe me? Because when I googled it, I found over 10 studies pointing out that it is bulls and it doesn't work. There is a reason they got banned in some places. This would drive me insane. I once reached for some sunglasses that were in my car's visor, and I accidentally booped my girlfriend on the nose. She started bawling about how I beat her. Serious, full on fit. I just sat there quietly reflecting upon my life choices. Wife likes to bake, and asked me what kind of cake I wanted for my day. Told her I actually didn't like cake that much. We fought for hours. Tears were shed. She really likes to bake. Next time, have her bake the cake and invite friends. Have one slice. Boom. So picked me up for a date after I'd just finished an exhausting week of finals. About halfway to where we were going, I yawned. He slams on the brakes, turns the car around and says he's taking me home. I was confused and asked why. He said that he figured I was either bored or too tired to go, since otherwise I would have stopped myself from yawning. I told him I was really confused and that I'd never heard of that before, and that I'd been under the impression just from life in general that it was okay to yawn as long as you covered your mouth so as not to spread germs. He went on to lecture me that it is never acceptable, while on a date, to yawn or cough or sneeze, and right in the middle of this, he yawns and then went into a sneeze fit. A snort of laughter escaped. Then he dumped me, stating that he was too preppy for me and that a lady would never have laughed at him. I didn't argue, but privately felt I'd dodged a major bullet. Insanity. This thread is freaking full of insanity. Was casually doing my biology homeworks beside her when I tell her, hey, did you know that there's an immortal jellyfish? Turns out nothing's immortal because Jesus, and I'm dumb for saying otherwise. Run. This girl I dated senior year of high school and I happened to be in the same health class. We decided it would be fun to partner together for the animatronic baby project. She went to the mall with Hunter, fake baby's name, on Saturday and was going out that night. I told her I was getting dinner with some friends so she can stop by and give me the baby on the way back from the mall before she heads out. Well, she's taking a long time to get home from the mall and friends are waiting for me to get dinner with them and I'm waiting on this baby being dropped off. I finally told her to just meet me at the restaurant and drop the baby off there. Well, she did, but she flips out when she gets there, saying it's irresponsible for me to leave the house when she needs to drop this baby off. Restaurant was maybe 15 minutes out of her way. I start telling her she was supposed to drop the baby off at X time. She yells at me saying she needed to pull over to feed the baby and it took some time. We get into an all-out screaming match in the entrance of this restaurant over a robot baby. Finally she left and I went back to my table with the baby. People thought we were just a crazy high school couple who got pregnant too early and some woman actually offered to watch my baby while I ate. She laughed when I said it was a robot baby for health class. We apologized on Sunday but man did we get pee at each other over a fake baby. Guess the project worked. That project was so stressful so I understand the screaming match. I took home the fake baby over the Memorial weekend. I was an emotional wreck and all weepy. My parents convinced me to take out the batteries on Monday morning. Got into a shouting match with my wife over who ate the last bit of the Irish cheddar. The argument went on for 2 days that cascaded into even more retarded arguments, such as what the color purple would taste like and what is the actual color of the dog's spots. Dalmatian pit mix. We were both on Chantix at the time. That crap can do some serious damage to your sanity. I took Miso over my cousin's house for family get together. While we were all sitting in the living room my one cousin takes me into the kitchen to show me the remolding they did. I crap you not. 10 minutes later, my little cousin comes up to me and my cousin and tells me that Miso is crying. Keep in mind this was in front of my dang family. I sit down next to her and ask her what's wrong and after minutes of her ignoring me she says that I wasn't paying enough attention to her. At the time she was 23. So freaking embarrassing. My ex dumped me because even though our relationship was going fine we might break up in the future so why not get it over with? This led to an hour-long fight about why I thought that was a stupid line of reasoning and why he thought it was sound. I think he wasn't looking at going long term with you. Might have seemed fine to you but he probably wanted out. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.